you guys actually want to know what Challenger jungling is, then you got to watch this video, bro. Guys, this is Mid Diamond NA. I just finished coaching Yanni. This was not a live game. This was just like a VOD review. And we went for about 45-50 minutes. The session is on Patreon. And the game after this, Yanni goes 13-1 on Kayn jungle against the Graves. Again, this is like Mid Diamond NA Elo. And the moves I kind of like teach him in this game, he does in the next one to absolutely curb stomp someone in like the top, what, maybe 2, 3, 4% of players. So if you want the opportunity to do so as well, coaching links down below. Just join my Discord, add me as a friend, send me a DM, just contact me via Discord. And you've also got Patreon as well, which this session is uploaded to. And there's like, yeah, close to like 300 videos now. So check out that as well. Anyway, in this game, Rengar is going to start red buff. The only annoying thing here, maybe, because he's against an Udyr, right, is maybe if Udyr goes red Krugs Raptors, because he's got Yone mid against the Katarina. Yone's always going to have priority right early game, so it might be a little bit annoying to deal with. So Rengar starting red buff, I'm fine if that's the reason. Otherwise, he can easily start blue buff here and come down and play for Leona Ezreal. Like, who cares about Vladimir that much? So the only reason you're starting blue buff, guys, is because you don't care about the enemy jungler invading you on your red buff. This game, I actually don't think he has to worry too much, because Leona can come over. Maybe Katarina, like, you know, is level 3 at that point, so it's still not that bad. But again, we can just take out any sort of RNG by starting red buff. Now, after all this happens, we know that Udyr starts bot because Kayle shows like kind of early here. So Yanni is going to keep clearing, and while he's doing his Raptors here, he should know that Udyr is passing top. Why? Because he started a blue buff. The enemy bot lane is also past the equator of the rift, so they're going to be more gankable. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be 100% killable. It makes them more killable because they're actually more gankable, right? But that's the question you're asking before you gank. Can I kill them? Rather than can you gank them? And you also want to take into account the enemy jungler. Is it going to be 3v2 or 3v3? 2v1 or 2v2? Take that into account. If you're ganking a non-prio lane, so if the enemy champions have priority, you're ganking a lane probably where the enemy champions have more HP, more levels, or more minions. Got to be careful. Yanni here decides to make a play on Udyr's red buff because that's just a good play, right? If Udyr's going to start at blue, he's not going to have red buff, and we can hit him here. The only downside is that he doesn't have priority mid lane, but Katarina and Yone are pretty even here. Katarina's full HP, and when the invade does happen, she should be level 3 as well, because the 230 wave, the cannon wave, is going to be there. So Yanni decides to on the way ping. Please make sure you do this, guys, when you fucking invade someone. Ping on the way as soon as you know you're going to do it, to let your teammates know. You need to contextualize the map for your teammates. You're saying, look, guys, in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to invade here. Make sure you're ready for it, because if it turns into a 3v3, that's what you want, rather than a 3v1 or 1v3, and everyone starts pinging everyone after that, right? Which is what happens a lot of the time in low elo. Now, I'm going to skip this a little bit because Yanni and Udyr, they go back and forth here, right? Nothing really happens too much, but Yanni is going to kite him out, and this is where you have to respect, right? So we make this play, we know that Yone has priority. Okay, so before we even invade here, we know their mid laner has priority and a bit of strength, and Katarina is still level 2, so we have to be a little bit slow here. Yanni decides to go back in because Udyr, the situation is still the same. He doesn't have red buff. Now, he's got 16 CS, so he's done blue, Gromp, walls, and Raptors, right? But he doesn't have red buff. He's also missing 200 HP. We are the stronger jungler here. So we don't just give up. Also, by the way, in this game, Yanni got first blood, so he does have a longsword. But even if he doesn't have a longsword, you make the same play. He ends up going in here and chunking the Udyr, well, doing a little bit more damage, I guess, but again, has to back out afterwards. And I'm going to forward this just a little bit here. Now, the Udyr here does him a good play, and he does his Krugs, because he knows the Rengar, you know, can hit him on red buff. Very risky to do. So Yanni invades here, and Yone is now wasting time again coming up here. Why is this still good for Rengar? You might be like, but Udyr's taking Krugs. Rengar's not doing anything. Yone is missing gold and experience. You're also slowing down the Udyr a fair bit here. You're still going to get your Crab, you're still going to get blue buff and Gromp and all of your camps. Now, what happens after this is super important. By the way, any questions, guys, about the moves, please let me know in the comment section, and I'll explain to you why all of this is Challenger and the best moves. Now, Rengar decides to do top Crab. Makes sense, right? Then he decides to do blue buff. There's no real gank happening, so yeah, and we have like really good walls. There's no way Udyr is going to make any sort of play here. But at this point, what do you think Udyr is doing? Because I think this Udyr could be doing a couple of things. He could either be running to bot crab straight away from like the back of the jungle, so like just through here, right? And going to bot crab. He could also just be recalling and running where? Well, bot crab is up, right? Because it's 349, that spawns at 330, and also his Gromp is going to be spawning soon at 420. We also know that our first camp, Krugs, is spawning in 24 seconds. Look at the timer for me, but even if we didn't, it's going to spawn around 415, 420, so you keep that timer in mind. Blue buff here, then we're going to do Gromp. I told Yanni here to recall after Gromp. Why? Reason being here is because you're going to lose Raptors, potentially. Yeah, level 4 Raptors, level 4 Krugs are spawning bot side of the map soon. We know Udyr is going to be there. First of all, he should ping here that Udyr is running to the bot crab or even Gromp, right? Because we see Ezreal 100 HP, he should be pinging bot side of the map here. When he does Gromp here, he should be recalling straight away. And he kind of like dilly-dallies a little bit looking at top lane, and the recall is good here from Yanni because he needs to run to Raptors and cover his Raptors, right? But unfortunately, here he goes to Krugs, so the Udyr can easily, if he wanted to, check the Rengar's Raptors. We know that Raptors is on a 440 timer. If you've watched my recent videos, you'll know this. Even Wolves, right? Vice versa, just like kind of correlates with the other side of the map. So your second camp, Krugs being the first camp, is 420. Second camp, Raptors being 440. We know that Udyr here, if he was thinking like this, can take our Raptors. That's why we have to cover him off. Yanni does a really big mistake here as well that I don't like, and this is what lots of people are going to do. Look at your map for me on the bottom right. We see Renata running into the Tri-Brush. Now, why in the fuck would you want to show yourself here as a jungler with a serrated Dirk and give up all pressure? Wait for your Leona to come in here and put a control ward down. If you still really want to gank this lane, then wait for the control ward, go through the river, and then you can gank this lane, right? But it still may be pretty difficult because the Udyr is bot side of the map here, right? And we also have a little bit of like counterplay we're giving up because Udyr can take our Raptors potentially, okay? After this happens, he ends up ganking bot lane. I don't even want to talk about this, guys, because the next big thing is going to happen after this. These like teachings are going to be way more important. So when he's recalling here, where do we run out of base? Well, we want to run to our red buff here. Why are we running to our red buff? Because it's up in 30 seconds. We'll get there at the perfect time. But also, there's nothing stopping Udyr from running at our red buff here. So challenger jungling is this. You play the game when you're not losing anything. You think about what the enemy jungler can take from you. So if I do this, what do I lose? If I go here, do I lose my other side of the map? That's what you've got to be thinking. So when Yanni runs to red buff here, he needs to be thinking, well, am I going to lose anything top? Well, you have an amazing ward on the enemy Raptor camp, and it's also very difficult for Udyr to run to top side because his blue buff is spawning in 20 seconds. So you need to be able to see the map, guys, how the enemy jungler sees the map. Pretty much, like, fucking when you jungle like this, and when you think like this, that's what this is going to teach you to do, yeah? So, Udyr's side of the map, we know that, first of all, his blue buff is spawning soon, and I'm actually going to give you, like, one of the most important timers, I think, in the game, or underrated timers. It's this one right here. And I told Yanni this. So, 6:30, right, is the time of the game right now. If I mention 6:50, everyone just thinks of buff, right? So your first buff is going to respawn, yeah? There it is, the first buff. There's blue buff, there's red buff coming up soon, yeah? Around 6:45, 6:50. What else comes at 6:50? Let's go. Come on. Tell me. Let's go. Right, okay. Right, so 420 is first camp, right? So Krugs and Gromp, yeah? In most situations. 420. Let's just say you clear this at 4:30, like most people will, by the way. 4:30, what time does Gromp or Krugs or anything respawn? The normal camps. This is going to be 6:45, 2 minute 15 timers. 6:45, that's 6:50 pretty much. That's your first buff respawn. So here, Udyr's map, this is spawning in maybe, what, like 20 seconds? That's spawning in maybe like 30 seconds, depending on what he did first. And we also have blue buff spawning very soon as well. The Udyr is clearly going to run bot side of the map here. Even if he doesn't do Dragon, I'm guessing he's going to run bot side of the map. And because of that, we don't want him coming in here and taking our red buff, right? So if we go top side right here, there's nothing stopping Udyr from doing something weird down here, okay? Please remember the 6:50 timing. Other timings are obviously, what, like just 1:30, I guess, pinging the enemy jungler. 2:30 is level 3 crossover. 3 minutes is recall for like a hit on Crab if you want to hit them there after you get like first blood or something. 3:30 is obviously Crab. 3:45 is probably a recall into your 420 camp, right? 420 is that camp. 4:40 is your third camp, or second camp, sorry, Raptors Wolves. 5 minutes is the second quadrant respawning, yeah, and we can keep going on. 6:50, 8 minutes Rift Herald, etc. Yeah, and in this game does red buff, then he's going to wait for Krugs, because why would we want to go from red to Wolves to Gromp and leave our Krugs up? Again, potentially Udyr can hit us here, and are we losing anything top for doing this? Of course we're not losing anything top, and Udyr this game does the Dragon, right? So Yanni is going to do Raptors and hit level 6. Now, this is really interesting, and there's a lot of points happening. If I was live coaching right here, I'm going to tell him to recall after, potentially anyway, after doing this for Ghostblade, right? He has Futures Market. So recall, get your Mythic, we have our ultimate, and we're going to use our ultimate with our Mythic item. That's fucking big, right? But as a fight happens bot here, you have to look at the bot fight, okay? Now, when we're looking at the bot fight, if Yanni actually looked there, we're going to see that Udyr appears. Now, you might be like, but that's so far away. But really, it's not. I mean, it kind of is in terms of geography. But the point here is that Ezreal is full HP, right? If Ezreal is full HP, he can easily kite out the Udyr for Rengar to get there in time. And this lane is winning and doing really well. So that has strength. So if we can get to a lane with strength and counter gank, it should be really good for us. So that's the first point here. Be aware of your map and look at the lanes. Yanni also makes a mistake here, I think. He actually ends up picking up the mid wave and showing. You have to know, guys. I think it's worth it to pick up this wave if it's a cannon wave and you get the big juicy cannon. Also here, we're giving up, yeah, again, just pressure because we're showing, right, for kind of no reason, I think, anyway. Just like the bot Tri-Brush play. After this, Yanni decides to do Rift Herald. It's a little risky because Udyr, after he kills his bot lane, can always recall and run here. And Yone has priority. And also, he will be very close just like showing here and going towards Rift Herald, like at this point. So after he clears this wave, he'll be very close to showing here. Very close. Maybe he's out of vision, but I'm just surprised in terms of like intuition. Anyway, Yone doesn't check this because if I'm Udyr here or coaching him, I'm going to be telling him, look, Rift Herald is up, and I've just done something bot. The Rengar is definitely going to fucking do this. So everyone here is kind of in the same boat. They don't think about counterplay, which is the key. They don't think about a loss when they actually make a play on the map. After all this happens, Yanni's going to get the actual Rift Herald, and then he's going to do his top side. Top side is fine here because he doesn't lose anything. He picks up a free kill on the KO top and leads the wave because it's pushing towards, or the Vladimir will be in like a good position. And he can clear his top side here because why? What have we just talked about? Losing stuff, right? Like, what's the counterplay for Udyr? What is the counterplay for Udyr here? Like, ganking his bot lane, which he could do, but do we really care about that? And he ends up just showing top hit. Now, Yanni can easily escape this, but for some reason, he just, like, wants to hit the blast cone and get Udyr on the blast cone as well. He can just, like, hit the blast cone and get out, right? But that's what we're thinking about here, guys. Just back here, like, this doesn't really matter too much. Like, when he's doing his top camps here, the Udyr, it's impossible for Udyr or the enemy jungle to go in here, right? Like, your bot lane is active and doing really, really well, and he doesn't know if I, like, you know, have recalled or not. So if I'm the enemy jungler, I'm running into, like, the Rengars, Raptors, and Krugs. Rengar might be here with Leona running up and a Katarina who's got ult and maybe, like, Ignite and stuff, right? It's way too risky to do that. So Yanni can full greed here because he's not losing anything. And there also isn't really a hit in terms of, like, Udyr's camps, right? Like, if we look at the map here, like, recalling would be great if Udyr's blue buff is spawning in 30 seconds or 40 seconds. Recalling would be great. Recalling would be great if Dragon is up in 30 seconds as well, and you think this guy's going to run there. He's an Udyr player, he probably will. Now, Scuttle Crab's up in 43, but I still think, like, it's just a Scuttle Crab as well, it's not like the biggest thing in the world. I still think he can greed for, like, blue buff here, base, and still get around the Crab in time. And if Udyr goes for Crab, he'll probably go back to his Grand Pride and Wolves, and we can hit him on those camps too. And here, his ult is in 20 seconds, right? Now, we don't have to do anything else here, but just play our ult cooldown, okay? Pretty much just ulting and back timing. That's what you're doing. You're just basing, buying item, and then running out of base to a lane or like area of the map where you think you can kill someone. Now, Udyr just happens to be in here, and you know, Yanni, because he based well, ends up killing him. Now, after this, he ends up running bot and picking up a free kill, right? The ult is really good and ends up killing the Jinx under the tower. And unfortunately, this is the next thing I want to talk to you guys about. Unfortunately, here he ends up dying for no reason. Guys, just leave. Just leave. Let the Ezreal die and just protect your souls. He could easily go this game without dying, and remember, the next ranked game, he goes like 13-1, right? Now, running out of base. Similar to before, right? We talked about, and this will be the last point in this video, we talked about before how Yanni's red buff was spawning soon, okay? So remember this picture, 11:19, I've got to remember it. And then this one, okay? 11:19, 6:32. Running out of base here, it's similar. We've got Gromp and Wolves up, Raptors, we've got Red, and then we've got Krugs. So in this situation, going like this would be really juicy as far as our own camps go, right? Now, the first thing I see on the map is this is up in 12 seconds. That's 41 seconds. Maybe we can do something here. But Udyr has Prio and Cat's going to base, right? Half HP. No ult. She's going to shove in base. So it's very difficult to move past middle of the map here. But this clear looks really good. Why can we not do this here? What do we say? Because Udyr can run in like this, right? Easily and take our red buff. We want our red buff. In this situation, when Yanni runs out of base, do you think the Udyr can take his red buff here? I think it's impossible. Let me just play this a little bit because YouTube might be hiding it. So here, right, we can see that Leona is running on the map. The Ezreal is running back on the map. These two are really strong because they've been winning lane. Like, Ezreal's 5 and 3. Leona's already got Locket. Like, there's nothing Udyr is going to do here bot so right as far as red buff goes. And we're only going bot, therefore, for a red buff. Like, that's it. We still don't have our ult cooldown. So I told Yanni here, and he told me, like, he was scared of Rift Herald. By the way, guys, Rift Herald does not change how you jungle. Okay, unless it's like 13.5 minutes and you're like, oh shit, I really need to like drop this on a good lane for sure. All Yanni can do here is just drop it like bot and then just run to his top camps and go like blue Gromp Wolves, back down. And this is the reason why this move is so good, is because you cut off like any counterplay, like Udyr might randomly, you know, do some shit like this or whatever. But you cut off like any counterplay, you maximize your own camps, and you still get here at the same time, and you can play your ult cooldown. Like, you might go here with Ghostblade right out of base. Blue, Gromp Wolves, then you come back down, Raptors, Red, and after you finish Red, you'll have your ultimate. You'll be level 9, and there's no loss top side of the map here. So what I kind of, like, taught Yanni here is, like, you know, you guys are going to see it, so he does red buff, and then he kind of just, like, waddles around and hopes, like, a play happens, but he still doesn't have ult for, like, 10 seconds. So here, I'd probably be finishing, what, like, maybe Gromp or Wolves or some shit like this. Then I'm coming down to bot side, finishing my red buff. Maybe Raptors red, depends, right, if Raptors are up or not. Then finishing my red buff, and then I'm making a play with my ult. I'll be level 9 and stronger. So this here is still maybe okay, but it's not maximizing golden experience in that amount of time, okay, which is what we're about playing this game. It's about golden experience. So this happens here. I don't know why the fuck Renata is doing this when they know that Rengar is bot really strong, like off of base. But anyway, this ends up happening, and then Yanni's like, you know what, I've pressed R on Rengar, so I've got to actually use my ultimate, and ends up trading 1-for-1. Well, it doesn't even trade 1-for-1. If this was 1-for-1, by the way, it's terrible, yeah? This is like a massive fucking throw, and in other games, this is going to mean a loss.